All right. Thanks, Alan. As y'all can see, I'm wearing my Level Up t-shirt today. So today's kind of special edition is all around some Level Up strategies that we're going to be talking about and training on in the next semester. So if you haven't registered yet, make sure you register. My man Nash and I, we did some cold calling of realtors, something we hadn't done in a long, long time. We learned some things about ourselves. We learned some things about best practices of cold calling and just prospecting in general. So Nash did a great job of putting together this beautiful guide. I'm going to drop this document in the chat here shortly so you can actually go through it and work along with us. I'm also going to share some slides here in a moment. And yeah, I'm going to try to leave most of the talking to Nash because I'm getting over a cold, as you can probably hear. And we're gonna go through this 1, 2, 3 sales approach. It's so easy as the ABCs, easy as 1, 2, 3s. My daughter is 20 months old and she can count to 3. So like if she can do it, us as loan officers can do it as well. I'm excited for it. Nash, anything else to add before we start here?
Always. Yeah. I mean, let's take a little step back and kind of talk about the why on this. A lot of us here, we're experienced salespeople. We've done this a long time. I know myself, I go into a prospecting call and we learn so much from Renee Rodriguez, drilling in over PAPCAR and just really understanding what the process looks like. But the more I talk to top performers, the more I talk to people and coach them, and the more I look at my own business, I'm like, why don't we have a method for everything? Why isn't there a process for everything? I do things the same way every time. And, when it works and it's successful, I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again. But, I'm talking to LOs and they're doing it kind of different every time. And the whole reason I wanted to put this together, I wanted something that would be scalable, that any LO, whether you're closing 150 million a year or you're closing your very first deal, can use this method and this approach and make it a foundation, something that you can build from, but more importantly, so you can establish consistency. We're not all as smooth as Tyler Hodgson on the phone. I mean, we heard his call. Dude got multiple objections. Guy wanted nothing to do with him. By the end of the call, he's asking Tyler for information on the Fed and trying to get scheduled to meet. Some of us are smoother than others. It doesn't matter how good you are on the phone. It doesn't matter how clean you are and how well presented you are when you're going over your stuff. If you have a process and you do it the same every time, you will get better. I use this process because every single time I do it, I sound a little more confident. I go through it the same way every single time. It's not rocket science. Sales is not that hard. There's no need to overcomplicate it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break down what actually goes through the process from presenting all the way up through closing and getting your next step established. That way you miss nothing. That way you create better relationships. You foster deeper connections with your partners and you don't waste your time in the middle of it. This is all going to make us more effective salespeople.
Yeah, so Nash hit on it there, the agenda. We're going to talk through the 3 steps: prospecting, presenting, and our next steps. With that, let's jump right in. The first step in the process, anybody want to take a guess? Of course, it's prospecting. All right, Nash, let's talk a little bit about what is the objective of actually, everybody drop in the chat here. What is the objective of prospecting? Think back to PAPCAR. What is the goal when you're prospecting? First answer is usually the right one. Here you go, Joe, Brian. Pen, presentations, set an appointment, meetings, new relationships, build relationships, connection. All right, good answers.
Are they though, Tyler?
Well, some of them are the right answer, some of them are the wrong answer. But I will never be mad at someone for trying.
Some are great, but I do think it's important to establish that there is only one correct answer here. PAPCAR is proven. PAPCAR is science. We have to be all about PAPCAR. The goal of prospecting is to set an appointment. Period. The end. Now, yes, you want to make connections. You want to build relationships. That's all part of it. But if you don't have that goal in mind, if your I in prospecting, if you aren't, hey, I've got to go from A to B and your B is setting an appointment, that's where we get misses. That's why we're here.
I can't tell you how many times I've met somebody, real estate agent or just anybody else, who's in the business, and I was building the relationship and I got to know them and we had a great connection. Or you know what, even in dating, like talking to a girl, I would like have a great conversation, get to know her, and like I never had a next step. I didn't go into it with the objective of setting the appointment, getting the date, getting the next thing on the calendar. And what happened was I didn't even get a phone number, with the girls, obviously, clearly. All right, moving on. That's another story for another day.
Yeah, I kind of want to hear that story, but yeah. All right. So getting into it, let's talk a little bit about who do we prospect? What is warm versus cold prospecting? This is fairly straightforward. Your warm prospecting is going to be a referral from another realtor, a referral from a friend, someone that you know on social media. Your cold prospecting, which has been real popular here at U Mortgage, is walking into open houses, hitting up someone who knows nothing to do, nothing about you. If you were on last week's call with me and Tyler and you listened to us fumble through cold prospecting and cold calling realtors, that's cold. So there's a slight difference between warm and cold. And the difference is does this person already have something that they know about me? Is there a good reason to go ahead and try to close that appointment? Or we're also going to be discussing what does a cold 2-part close look like? This is going to be for your open houses, your randoms. Tyler and I both did this on our calls where we called, a realtor that was not expecting to hear from us right then, because we want to be respectful. We also want to get the best out of that call. Sometimes it's going to be a 2-part close. The other huge takeaway here is because PAPCAR, this is not your opportunity to pitch. This is not your chance to present. So many LOs have I'm going to give my elevator pitch. I've only got 4 minutes at this open house. I got to drop my value nugget. No, nugget's okay. This is not your chance for a presentation. You do not have permission to present. The appointment is permission to present. If you're taking notes, and you should be taking notes, write that down. You do not present without permission. Someone has to have told you it's okay to present. And we're going to get exactly into what that looks like, as well as the scripting that goes through that.
Yeah, Ben Sutton answered in the chat when I asked the objective of prospecting. His first answer was presentation. So like he's the guy who goes on too strong at the bar, and like he's presenting right away.
If you looked like Ben Sutton and had those muscles, you may be used to that as well. It's probably effective. And that's the thing though. You can be effective doing this wrong. I was effective doing this wrong for 15 years. That's why I learned how to do it right. That's why I care so much about doing it right. Getting what you want is not the goal. Getting what you want, getting that person to commit early, getting that person, I'd love to send you business. When you haven't gone through your presentation, when they don't know your value propositions, when you haven't established your next steps, you're creating mediocre relationships. That is why we're here. We are done creating mediocre relationships. We have to be better, because in this market and the markets that we have going forward, the strongest, deepest relationships are the ones that are going to be the most successful.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go into the flow chart. So we're going to go through the 6 steps of a prospecting conversation, whether this is a phone call or an open house or an agent you met at a closing, or a listing agent that you're talking to. This is the workflow that you should follow, the systematic approach that Nash mentioned that is repeatable. We will distinguish a couple, times between, best practices or scripting for a warm prospect versus a cold prospect, as Nash mentioned. So just keep in mind through these conversations that some things will apply in a warm or a cold situation. It's like you're not always going to wear a jacket in Texas in the middle of the summer.
Tyler, how long do you think the prospecting should take? I've seen that. I've had a lot of LOs ask me, how much time should I spend on the prospect call? I know if these people were here and they heard you and I on our cold prospecting calls, they had a pretty good idea of what that looks like. But could you just reiterate for everyone about how long should this entire process go for?
Less than 10 minutes. I would say the ideal time frame is probably 4 to 8 minutes. 6 is right in the middle of that, in case you're not very good with numbers.
Good math. And I think our calls were 6 to 7 minutes each. That feels like a normal progression. Friendly, kind, get to the point, and get out of the way. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the greeting. We don't need to spend too much time on here, but I think it's important to discuss, because I've heard some greetings that just don't work, frankly. You need to establish who you are right off the bat. There's nothing that makes me cringe faster than hearing a call where Ella goes, "Hey, is this Randy? Great, Randy, how are you doing today?" Like, no, bro. Say who you are and why you're calling. Establish yourself. There's no shame in being a mortgage lender talking to a realtor. You're not begging, you're not groveling, you're not desperate. Like, you're there to add some value, make friends, do whatever, see what the opportunity is. You've got a right to make that phone call. So establish who you are very, very quickly. A couple examples on like a warm introduction. Find something that you know about these people. I do recommend spending the 45 seconds on social media. See if there's something you can make a quick connection on. Hey, Julie, this is Jim with NXT. Pat said I had to talk to you, that you're the best buyer's agent in Waxahachie. How are you doing today? Or like Tyler's call, hey, I was going through my charts with AI and I pulled numbers for Collin County, and you had the number 4 growth in the entire county for the last 6 months versus the previous 12. That's outstanding. Get to your why quickly. Let them know so they know, like, if I got to jump off this call, like, you're not really giving someone permission to say no. And when you give them permission to say no, you're giving them permission to say yes. Tyler, what would be an example of how you would go into a completely cold greeting with someone?
Yeah, so assuming it's a real estate agent, I'm going to know something. Like, let's say they're at an open house. I know they're at the open house. I'm telling them, I'm walking in, hey, first of all, like, I'm a lender. I'm not here to tour the house. I'm in the neighborhood, or I'm out working this weekend because I know you are too. I'm getting straight to the point. I mean, I think we kind of hit this nail on the head, and we're all in agreement. Like, you tell them up front, you're a lender. You're not trying to hide it. You're not trying to be ashamed by it. And you tell them how you did or didn't come across their name. Like, here's who I am and here's why I'm calling you. If you don't establish that initially, like, it's a very awkward conversation. I've had salespeople call me and they like start like Nash mentioned, asking me questions like, how are you doing? And all this stuff. I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't know who you are. So you got to establish that first.
You could write that down. Here's who I am and why I'm calling you.
Yep.
Great. Love that. Have it on a sticky note. Here's who I am and why I'm calling you, which takes you directly into the small talk. Small talk is going to look different whether it's warm or it's cold. If you know something about this person, if they were warm introduced to you, if you heard, hey, I was creeping your Facebook and saw you guys rescue parrots. Since I know you're good with loud and needy, I figured we may be a good fit. I really wanted to meet you. Whatever. Anything about, if you can drop something about them, that's cool, neat. But be careful here, because you greet them, you establish why you're wanting to make that call, and then you go into, hey, I saw you at the Grand Canyon last week. How was that? And they're driving the car, like they don't have time for your BS at that point. So just be cognizant of the room. I love on the cold stuff that Tyler was doing that we listened to the recording. He had something relevant to the business. He was talking about their growth, and he asked them a very direct question. What are you doing differently than the majority of the market who is slowing down right now to be growing? Like, people like to talk about themselves. If you can find a way to get them to talk about themselves in that number 2 small talk forward. If anyone doesn't know what forward is, we'll go
let's
quick.
Have them drop it in the chat. I know there's some people on here who know it. Let's hear it. Who knows what forward is?
Drop the forward. A lot of people may use frog as well. It's all the same stuff. Joe is always quick with that F word.
Family. Toretto.
Occupation,
recreation, and dreams. So these are the topics or the areas that you can talk about when having small talk. Pick one. Just pick one of these 4 categories and have a conversation about it. Obviously, if it's a cold prospect, you may not know anything about their family, their recreation, or their dreams, but you probably know their occupation. So that's normally where I would tend to go to. I talk about current
Tyler's going to make that
O
face. Talk about that, occupation.
Talk about the rates. Talk about the Fed. Talk about how the market is. Talk about how they're doing in business, and that's going to be your easiest conversation on a cold call.
Which can also very easily transition straight into your nugget, especially if it's cold and you're talking, you're making some small talk. Hey, you go into something about the Fed. Hey, yeah, the Fed met today. Did you know? Boom. Hey, I want to let you know what our expectations are. If you can drop some sort of value, that's great. I'll be honest, this is the part that can be very challenging when you're getting someone on the phone and it's real quick. If they're rushed, if they don't really have any interest in dealing with you, this is something you have to script out. You have to plan how you're going to drop a nugget. It helps if you know something about them. But, if the purpose of your call is, hey, I've been having a lot of success this month with this particular grant. Do you work with a lot of first-time home buyers? Is it transparent that you're a lender talking to a realtor and trying to talk to them about their buyers? Yes. You already established that up front. Who am I? Why do I want to talk to you? If you drop them a nugget that could be relevant to them making money, that's fine. It doesn't feel salesy and kitschy to be like, oh, I want to talk to you about this program. Okay, do that. That's your job. If you've got nothing and you just want to talk about what they've done, then keep that conversation on how have you grown. Hey, this is what I've seen. Man, that's amazing. Because from the value nugget, if you can establish some rapport and spend a minute or two there, like if you heard my call, the lady was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm like, well, I do. Your enthusiasm is infectious. Like I can just tell talking to a stranger, especially a lender who just calls you out of the blue, like I can pick up your energy and I would want to work with you. Like, and that was true. And it's honest. That stuff is going to come naturally. So just be open to the opportunity, be listening to what they say. But if you can find a way to drop a nugget of value in there, absolutely outstanding, but we want to keep it short. You're not going to do full on presentation. You're not going to tell them a value proposition. You don't want to sit there and be like, oh yeah, well, I'm actually the lender that answers the phone the fastest. One ring and it's me. No, don't be getting into value props. How do we transition from our, I'm here, what's going on? I got to find out the opportunity. Tyler, why don't you give us a little bit on the opportunity script and why the word opportunity is so important?
Yeah, so Nash, you kind of touched on this before, and you said you have to give them permission to say no. Otherwise, they also can't say yes. And what a lot of loan officers do is we kind of string the conversation along and we sort of assume the close. And assuming the close is not something that we want to do here. We have to find out if there is an opportunity by directly asking the question.
And I think this is that spot where you can win while actually losing. It can look like a win, but it's not. When you've got that person, oh yeah, hey, I'd love to work with you. Can I send you?
I'd love to have coffee with you next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Slow the roll. Those are not long-term wins. This is put together for long-term success. If you get that yes too soon, this is where you pump the brakes a little bit. And like Tyler said, there's another thing to write down. You give someone permission to say no, you've given them permission to say yes. Absolutely lets down their guard. And that's a sales tactic we'll use a lot. And I use a lot in my career is giving people permission to say no. I may not be the best fit. I may not be the right fit. There may not be any opportunity here, and that's great. But you've given them permission to say yes. And without a yes, you don't have permission to present. So let's go through a couple of examples of what an opportunity script looks like. These always feel a little funny because it's not part of my normal method. I've added it because it's really important. But ask the question, be direct. The goal is for meaningful appointments, not having a ton of them. And the last thing you want to do, this is another write down, do not be the professional friend. We all know title companies and homeowners insurance people that will pop by the office every other week, bring cookies, donuts, whatever. They never ask for the business. They've never even asked what the opportunity for business is. Oh, cool. I just got a new thing of nothing but cakes from Title Rep. Awesome. Well, they're not getting my business because they've never asked for it. You have to ask. So, I've used this one. I think I used this one on the call. If you'll listen to it, hey, you're a realtor. I'm a lender. I'm here. If I'm as awesome as I think I am, and that's pretty awesome, would there be any opportunity to chat about working with your team? Hey, I know you're busy, so I'll be direct. I just want to ask, is there any opportunity for you to consider working with me or partnering up with a different lender? What does the opportunity for a lender look like with your team? Is there any space to have a conversation to see if we may be a good fit? It's very easy. I do like I put this in the notes here. This is the scarcity script. Hey, I've got room for 2 to 3 priority partners right now. That's my inner circle. From what Tony told me, you'd be an amazing fit. Is there an opportunity to have a discussion with you about this? That would be a warm transition.
Yeah.
This is someone that already knows something about me. We have a mutual friend. There's mutual respect there. I can use a scarcity script a little bit. So I'm trying to weed out. And the cool thing about this is I've used a script dozens of times now. I've always gotten an answer, and it's been clear and it's been direct. Hey, no, I use this. This person pays for Zillow. I've got my wife is my lender. The number of times I got good, clear indication of what the opportunity was when I wasn't asking this, maybe 50% of the time, they're like, they know I'm asking for business, but I didn't really ask for the business. So they just tell me, I've got a lender that I work with. I already work with this mortgage company. That happens sometimes, but a lot of the time they're like, I just assumed the close and hey, I'll follow up with you on this. I wound up chasing. I chased an opportunity that wasn't really there because I never asked, what is the opportunity with you? And they'll tell you, hey, I need one more lender. Man, my lender has been dropping the ball. Do you do bank statement loans and DSCRs? 'Cause I need someone who can do that. Yes, I can. Let's set up our next call. Let's see when we can get together again. Be very wary. You may have someone tell you exactly how to close them at this point. You don't close because you haven't presented. But this is where we move to step 5. Tyler?
Appointment set. So you'll notice a lot of people, we talked about the objective of prospecting is to set the appointment, to get the meeting. And most people skip that opportunity step because they're trying to get to the appointment so quickly. They're just assuming and trying to force the next meeting. Like, I'd love to grab coffee. I'd love to do this. I'd love to meet with you. And again, don't forget that opportunity step. So step 5 is set the appointment. There's 2 ways to do this as well. There's the hard close of trying to get the time and a date on the calendar while they are on the phone then, or there's the 2-step close to this of asking them if they'd be willing to have a 15-20 minute Zoom. Would they be willing to meet and grab coffee? Because they've already said yes to your opportunity, you now have permission to set the appointment. With that 2-step close, I prefer this method when it's a cold call or a cold prospect, because I can now show them my follow-up by saying, okay, great, I'll look at my calendar, I'll reach back out to you tomorrow. It feels less direct and less salesy by giving them the soft kind of exit without forcing them to look at their calendar right away. And remember, you're catching these people off guard. Like, you just cold call them, reach out to them. They may be in the middle of doing something else, and now you're trying to like, oh, well, open up your calendar real quick. Let's see if we can get something on the calendar for next week. And I found doing the 2-step close on the appointment setting works better for me in most situations.
I would agree. It does show that you care about them and you're not just making a sales call. I know a lot of salespeople would tell you, hey, get that DTP right then. If you're not down with OTP, you don't know me. DTP, date, time, place. It is not an appointment until you have a date, a time, a place. Asking someone, hey, can we get together later this week and set an appointment to get together? You have not closed that appointment. You still have work to do. You're still doing a 2-part close. There's nothing wrong with a 2-part close. I feel like it's respectful. I feel like it's slightly disrespectful for me to call someone out of the blue and expect them to have their calendar ready and know when they can meet with me. But also, I'm busy too. I'm going to use some scripting like, hey, I've got a couple of openings later this week. I got to get back to the office and see what my calendar looks like. I'll give you a text message tomorrow and let's get together and see what makes the most sense for both of us. It's true, it's kind, it's polite, it's considerate. And then when I follow through with that, like Tyler said, I'm actually following through on another expectation I just set. I do want to get quickly, I want to spend more time on the presentation because I feel like prospecting is fairly straightforward and aligned. The presentation part, though, this is where I find LOs just going wheels off all over the place. So I do want to spend more time there unless Tyler has anything else on the appointment setting. And then don't forget gratitude. When you show someone you care and that they took the time and like it's authentic, like, man, I really appreciate you chatting. I know that you're busy at this open house, but I really enjoyed meeting you. And I just can't wait for our appointment. I'm really looking forward to it. And Kathy, I hope you have an amazing day. Cool. Like, be authentic and don't feel like you just won, but feel like, man, I just made a new friend. I made a new connection. I'm excited and hopeful for what's going to come from there. They may match your energy because that's what we're, accustomed and, set to do. But gratitude seals the experience with the heart of you. Thank you. Sorry. I stole that from the chats, but you're right. Gratitude is necessary. If you're not showing true, authentic gratitude, figure out what you're grateful for because that person gives you that opportunity. This could change your life, could change your business. It takes one great partner, could change everything. So yeah, be authentic. That's why I wanted to put this on here is the gratitude part is important.
Yeah, this piece is hard for me because I'm a very D-type personality where it's like, do this, do that, do that. I set the appointment. Great. For me. Okay, great. Thanks so much. Have a good day. Boom. Like, I'm trying to be on to the next thing. And just having this step written down here to remember, okay, be appreciative. Remember, like you said, I interrupted their day to ask for business and to try to set this appointment with them. I owe them some form of appreciation for that. So don't forget this step. It really sets you up, as someone memorable and to make sure that they actually like show up to your appointment that you set.
100%. Also, if you are following along at home on the sheet, the notes here, or you want to relate back to it later, I put a lot of different objection scripting in here just
I didn't
to
even
help
drop the
coach you.
sheet yet.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Nobody's following
So
along.
when you go through the sheet, you don't need it right now. There's a bunch of objection scripting. So just to have some ideas of what you're going to take, what you're going to get, how to go through that, it's definitely worth going through those and having some ideas for how you would overcome some of the typical objections you're going to get to your opportunity script.
And some of those are, what products do you have? Oh, I have to refer to 3 lenders because my broker said, or my lender pays for Zillow. Yeah, just my wife is a lender.
Mhm.
Those types of objections. Nash has some great scripting here on ways you can overcome those.
Love it. Let's get on to the presentation. The least likely to have a flow. Everyone I talked to, and I asked them the questions, they said, well, my presentation is going to be based on my audience. My presentation is going to depend on what this person needs. I'm going to talk to them for 25, 30 minutes and shoot the breeze, and then, figure out how to meet their mediocre, C minus. No. Your presentation should be 90% the same for every single referral partner you present to. If you're not doing it your way every single time, they're not going to know what's great about you. And if they don't know what's great about you, you failed that presentation. Your number one goal is to make sure that they come away from that understanding what you want them to know about you. And if they choose you, awesome. If they don't, that's okay too. But as long as you clearly communicated who you are, what you do, and what's important to you, you're winning every single time.
So to be clear, now that we had the initial prospecting conversation, now we're moving on to the presentation. This is the appointment that we set. This is that coffee meeting or that Zoom call, that one-on-one meeting at lunch, whatever it is. That is when we're now giving this presentation, correct?
100%. So yeah, you've set the appointment. Now you're getting ready to present. What's the purpose of presenting? It's right here on the sheet.
Drop it in the chat.
It's on your sheet. You already gave it to them.
No, they don't have the sheet. I'm not giving them the sheet.
No, it's on your presenting slide.
Oh.
Establish credibility, differentiation, and trust.
And I like to give those answers.
That's what you're doing while you're presenting, but the purpose of the presentation is to get to the C of PAPCAR, which, as Brian told us, close, gain a commitment. No close, no commitment, no accountability. So let's get into what a presentation flow chart looks like with this particular sales method. You'll notice there's a few things that are very much the same. So we're going to breeze through the first couple steps here. You're greeting the same. I don't need to tell you how to greet people. Small talk, hopefully you picked up something. I will tell you that my preferred method for this is to do the presentation about a week after I did the prospecting. If I can, I like to book, I'm busy and I want to make sure that I've taken their time into consideration, my time into consideration. I want them to think I'm a professional. And, 4 or 5 days, cool. 3, 4 days, fine. I don't necessarily want to set up that presentation on the next day, but man, if that's when they're available and when they want to meet, we're gonna. But I'd like to use that time in between the prospect and the presentation, add them on social media, follow their stuff, comment on a few things. Hopefully they can see me in action a little bit, see who I interact with, have some idea of who I am as a person. It's going to make that small talk a little bit more fun. Let's get into the transparency question, because the first two, like I said, are pretty self-explanatory. And like I said, y'all don't have the notes yet, but the first thing on the notes here, it says the transparency transition. If you give someone permission to say no, you've given them permission to say yes. Yes, I'm saying that again, and it's written here again. It is that important. This lays the foundation for how you're going to conduct the meeting. It shows you're professional and you have a plan. This is just a personal script that I like to use that I want to go over just to maybe get some wheels turning for some people if you're not doing this already. It's not a takeaway close, but this is an establishment of fit and the importance of fit. And here's the actual script I'll use. Now, the reason I wanted to get together, I feel like from what I've seen, we may be a great fit as partners. Understand, though, I have a few non-negotiables, as I'm sure you do too. If at any point in time I say something that absolutely will not work for you, please feel free to cut me off and let me know. I know I'm not a perfect fit for everyone, but when I am a great fit, the partnership is special. Worst case scenario, we leave here as friends. Sound good? And I'm getting a verbal commitment from them. I'm going to get them to say, yeah, sounds good. I want to de-escalate. I want to create a relaxed environment where I say, I'm going to go through what makes me special, what's important to me. And if you're not about that, man, just let me know. We'll be friends. We'll hang out. We'll finish our coffee, finish our Zoom, whatever. And we can be fans of each other without being partners. I want to establish that as the foundation for that meeting, because I'm going to be doing lots of question asking. It's going to sound a little bit like an interview at times, and it should be interviewing each other. We got to get away from, oh, how's it going? Like asking questions, just waiting to say your pitch. Like, no, you have things that you need to find out about this person, and you have a way to conduct your stuff as a professional. I'll tell you what, when you bust out the notepad and start doing your presentation as a professional with a plan, they notice, they pay attention. I've had people comment like, well, I just showed up to coffee and you're sitting over here with a full on notepad. I'm like, yep, I'm going to make sure that what I learn about you, I remember about you. It's really important to me that I understand who you are, what you're doing, and, to be able to see if we're a good fit. Like, it's true. It works. People like that. And I don't think you can do your job at the highest level if we don't approach our presentation from a professional standpoint.
Yeah, I did this wrong for a lot of years, because I always went into the coffee with the coffee meetings saying like, I'm not bringing any materials, I'm not bringing flyers and graphics and products and all this stuff, because loan officers always want to take flyers to coffee meetings for some reason. And to me, that was always a big no-go, because like literally you put them on the defense as soon as you walk in there, like, I'm a loan officer and I've got flyers and like, I'm here to sell you. But I love this approach from Nash. When you told me this, it really clicked. Like, that is like showing you're the professional, taking notes, having meaningful, purposeful questions lined up to get straight to the conversation. That's the kind of people that you want to do business with. And that's the kind of people that you want doing business with you, that want to do business with you. I think I said that right. So, I mean, this completely changed the way I look at, showing up to that coffee meeting. It's you have the time for the small talk and the forward, but then you've really got to get into this 5 questions and get into the value prop. So Nash, let's talk through the 5 questions.
Yeah. So if you've seen me on a couple of daily sales huddles, or if you've been on my team, you know that when I'm doing a client interview and I'm taking an application and I'm going through and getting my intake call, I ask the borrower 5 questions. I ask the realtor 5 questions, because I have a process for everything. The consistency makes sure I'm doing the same thing the same way every single time. It becomes more natural. Now with these 5 questions to a realtor, I am busting out my handy dandy Hogwarts notepad. Thank you, Tyler. That was an amazing gift. I'm definitely a mega Harry Potter fan, and I'm taking notes. Now, a lot of times I will do a transition statement here. If we've been talking a long time and I feel like I need to reestablish that, like, hey, I've got a few questions I like to ask to get a better idea about you and your business. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take some notes. Just, it's an assumed close. I don't have to ask permission to take notes. I'm just telling them I'm going to take some notes. I'm telling you what I'm doing when I'm busting out my little paper here, because I do want to keep them at ease. I already established and put them at ease. Now I want to keep them there. They're the same 5 questions every single time. And, they'll be different based on what time of the year that we're on, but they all serve a very specific purpose. Question number 1 is about their previous/current production. I'm going to ask them, how would you describe your 2023? That question is intentionally vague. Maybe they give me numbers. Maybe they give me emotions. Maybe they give me something else. I don't know. I want them to talk. I want them to talk about themselves. Tell me about your 2023. Cool. So they're going to give me content. They're going to give me data. Oh man, it was such a rough year. My dog got sick and pooped on the carpet, and I didn't work for 6 months after that. But things picked up. Cool. Then I'm going to ask the follow-up. It's a 2-part question. Okay, what was your production in 2023? I want to know. Like, yeah, I got MMI and whatever. No, I want to hear it from them. It needs to be out of their own mouth, because that's really important. I'm not telling them what they produced. I need to hear it. Oh yeah, I did 7 deals for like 2.1 million. Awesome. Notes. Question 2, goals. What are you planning on closing in 2024? Straightforward. I want to know. Oh, I'm going to do 14 for 4 million. I'm going to double my production. Fantastic. I will tell you, every time I've done this presentation, every single person I've talked to has given me a goal that was higher than their previous production. Or they're salespeople, they're realtors. They always want to do more. We want to do more. Like, who's going to set goals less than what they did the year before? Maybe after 2021. Okay. But looking forward, they're probably trying to grow. So you ask them, what are you planning on doing in 2024? This is a multi-part question as well. What are you doing differently to go from 7 units to 14 units? And take notes, understand them, understand what their process. Oh, I signed up for coaching. and I've been going really hard on social media. My TikTok channel has, 300 subscribers, and, I'm really planning on leveraging Instagram, like whatever. Write it down, understand them, get to know them, get to know how they're growing. You can't tell someone I care about you and your growth if you don't understand how they're trying to grow. Part 3 is really important on this. Do not miss this. What will that mean to you and your family when you hit 14 units for 4 million this year? And don't ask, this is where you want to maybe lift your head up from your notepad a little bit, like make a connection here. What will that mean to you when you hit 14 units this year? Understand the dream. They're going to tell you something about it. Like, you want to invest in them as people. This is going to tell you why. My family has always dreamed about going to Disney World, and, with my husband's income, it's not something that we can do right now. We got 4 kids and we just adopted a 5th. And man, if I do 4 million, I'm taking the whole family to Disney. Oh man, I love that. I'm going to connect with you over that. I'm going to engage with you over that. I'm going to get pumped up and excited because I want to be a part of that. And that's also your accountability for them. When we get into accountability and expectations and they're not doing the stuff, they're not taking the notes, they're not referring clients in the most effective way, they're letting them work with Bank of America. You go back to, how is that going to help you take the entire family to Disney World? You told me that was your goal, and I'm trying to help you get there. And you're telling me you're cool just referring 3 lenders after we talked about that. Down the road, it's part of accountability. We hold each other accountable to our goals and our dreams. Why wouldn't we do the same thing? So 1 and 2, current previous production goals. Then it's another opportunity conversation, another opportunity question. This is where I'm trying to find out what's in it for me. What's your current experience with lending and lenders? Easy, open question. I know a lot of people like to ask, what do you love about your current? I don't care. I want you to establish how you feel about lending. Right. Yeah. I don't want to set you up for something like that. No, just tell me, what's your current experience with lending and lenders? Oh, it's the greatest thing ever. I love my, okay. That's going to take us pretty well into our 4th question, but most likely this is going to be a negative. Oh man, I missed 2 closings. Another borrower worked with Veterans United and was a week late, and their closing costs changed, and they're really upset at the closing table. I had to help them get a Airbnb before closing. This is when you CPR. I know a lot of you have heard CPR. I talk about CPR all the time. I love CPR. CPR is like the gravy that goes on the sales chicken fried steak. It's not the same if you don't CPR. Someone gives you a negative like that. Thank you, Tyler. CPR stands for cut, press, remedy. You got to cut into that negative. Oh man, how often do you think those bank lenders are creating a negative overall experience for your buyers? Oh, well, it's every time I work with Veterans United, it's trash. Yeah, I see that too. How likely do you think it is that buyer, is going to be falling over themselves to refer family and friends to you right after they missed a closing by a week, changed their move-in dates twice, spent 4 hours on the phone with, the cable company to get internet back in? Like, I just can't imagine that referrals were the first thing on their mind at closing, right? That's the press. Go in twice. Find where it hits their pocketbook. Relate it back to referrals. Relate it back to the overall client experience. How much does it suck when you've done everything right? You negotiated a $10,000 credit and you've crushed it, and man, you've really just been there, the best advocate for these clients. And then when everything falls apart at closing, how good do you look? I mean, it makes you look like you have very little control when the lending has so much to do with the overall feeling and vibe at the closing. They're not just going to remember, oh yeah, Bank of America sucked, but man, Wendy was great. She got us a great price on the house. I'm going to just go and refer. No, they remember how they feel, and they feel bad at that point. So that's where you press into that and create that emotional connection. Normally, when we're having this conversation, we go into remedy, and remedy is what you're going to do to prevent that. This is an abbreviated remedy. This is slightly different for this part of the approach, where you're going to tease the remedy. Now, hey, here in a little bit, I'm going to explain why that will never happen when we're partners. Hey, as I'm going through my stuff, I'm going to let you know why you will never get a call from me the day before closing stating, hey, I need an extra 2 weeks, I need an extra week and a half. That's not how I handle my business, but I'll explain why a little bit. Keep control of the meeting. This is a spot where a lot of loan officers try to, you get that negative, you're talking, you're small talking, they tell you what they want in a lender. You immediately start vomiting up presentation specifically to their value props. I hate to go on this aside, but I'm going to anyway. I polled a whole bunch of realtors and I asked them, What do you think are the most valuable things that I bring to your team? And these are people I've worked with for a long time. Their answers were terrible. I asked a bunch of lenders, hey, what are your number 1 and 2 value props that you give agents on the spot? Their answers were also terrible. That's because we stick to terrible. My realtor's like, oh, well, you communicate so great. And like your availability is awesome. That is I wrap your burger in a wrapper and I put napkins in your bag. Go to McDonald's. They will always put napkins in your bag. I got you. You're not going to go to McDonald's because they put napkins in your bag. Does Burger King forget sometimes? Does Taco Bell forget your fire sauce? Yes. Communication, availability are not value propositions. Those are the minimum requirements to be a professional at this job. Do not let someone else's poor experience dictate what is valuable about you. You are not just good enough to not suck. And hey, I communicate really, don't get me wrong, communication is important. Availability is important. That's a show me, don't tell me type of value. And they'll feel that value from you when you bring it. But you have to have better value propositions than that. That is, like I said, that's napkins in the bag. So when they tell you, and my lenders don't communicate, well, I can't get anyone to send an approval letter on Thursday night. I'm like, really? I can't believe a professional can do this job and not be available Thursday night to get your approval letter out because you're working, right? Yeah, well, it sounds like you need to work with someone who works when you work. And then you move on. You're
¿Y
teasing
cómo
the
escuchaste
remedy.
de NFM?
Exactly.
Oh, también por
I got
And,
that. I got to take it.
Holla. So you're teasing the remedy because we want to stick with our questions. We got 5 of them. Perception of value. So I love this. So opportunity. What's your current experience of lending and lenders? Going through it. Okay. Why did you decide to meet with me? Number 4, perception of value. Why did you decide to meet with me? They're going to tell you what they think your value is. This is great. Thank them for the compliments. Oh man, that's awesome that Tony said that about me. Hey, well, I enjoyed doing that file with you too. Cool. Like it's a conversation. Take notes. Perceived value rarely aligns with your best value. I just touched on this. This will illustrate why it's so important to frame your value your way. Hey, that's great. I'm thrilled Rachel said such great things about me. She's an awesome partner. I love helping her grow. Question 5 is one of those, I don't want to call it uncomfortable question, but it's one that you say and you just sit back and you shut up because you're going to get that reaction. Number 5, I call it practical application. What can I do for you? What can I do for you? I need you to be that guy who can, okay. So you may want to record yourself, practice this, or script it with another friend a while. Make sure you're not coming off arrogant, egotistical, obtuse. Like this should work its way into the previous 4 questions comfortably, naturally, organically. Why did you decide to meet with me? Cool. Okay. Well, what can I do for you? You can be that guy, blah, blah, blah. Awesome. And then from there, let's see, I got my transition statement, like taking a small break and let them know I'm about to pitch them. So I script this now because I didn't feel like there was a great way to go from asking my questions into telling them how I'm going to meet all their needs. So, hey, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me run through that. It gives me a really good idea how I think I can add some value. Let me tell you what is most important to me, and you can let me know if that sounds like a fit. Tyler, I'll kick it back to you a little bit on what you think about meeting needs plus the value proposition. What are your ideas of a real value proposition, et cetera? Like how do you then transition from I'm asking questions and now I want to talk to you about myself?
Yeah, so we've seen this exercise with like Renee at Winners Win. We've seen it in some of the daily sales huddles with some of our other top producers. And the value proposition, it's really hard to coach or train on this because it is very unique to you, and you've got to find the value proposition that fits both the person that you're talking to. You just asked these 5 questions, you gathered information, and you need to know a handful of your own value propositions. You should have 2 or 3 or 4 like really key ones. Now, not like Nash said, the McDonald's, hey, we put the napkins in your bag too. Like that's not a value proposition. So know what your value propositions are. And once you have a couple of these defined and you feel very confident in them, you'll be able to tailor those based on where the conversation went with the previous 5 questions. So, for me, I feel like each loan officer, everybody listening, needs to take some time to really like write these down, script them out, talk to them with someone else in your office, talk to them with your branch leader or your coach, and hone these in a little bit.
I'd agree. In the sheet that you're going to get from all of us, I included my two. Right now, I'm just doing two because it's worked since I came over to U Mortgage, since I left the retail channel. It's something I believe in authentically, and therefore it conveys, with a lot more transparency. My number one is affordability, and this is the why I'm a broker. This is what that means to be a broker. By having rates that are better than 95% of the market, I know that when we're working with a buyer, they're going to be able to have the highest and best chance of success. The difference in how I'm set up now versus where I was before could mean $20,000 to $40,000 on the purchase price. And that could be the difference between buying now or renting for another year or two plus. I have to know that when we're working with a buyer, they're not going to be able to talk to another lender and either buy more home or have a lower payment at the same house with all things equal. I've got to be in your corner. I can't tell you that, yeah, I'm your guy and refer to me. And then we get a contract and they go and there's 10 other lenders that can smoke me on pricing. Or, yeah, they're approved at 280K, but another lender with better pricing get them at 310. That can't be me. I've got to be that guy that can talk to the buyer, establish that rapport and trust. And when we're going to looking at homes, I know that, yeah, if we can push to 325, I'm going to be able to push to 325, and someone else isn't going to be able to push higher because they have better pricing. That's why affordability, it's not just I'm a broker, I have great rates. It's I have to be the most affordable so we can win. That's my number one. My number two is accuracy. This is a very personal to me thing, my style, the way that I like to work. And this helps me relate back to the transition statement. The permission to say no is permission to say yes. I'm going to hit them with a couple things that they're not used to a lender saying, some of my non-negotiables. Number one, and I use a script. Hey, this is where you may decide that my style isn't a fit for you. And that's okay. If so, just let me know. Number one, I don't give out approval letters. I don't give out approval letters. I'll usually sit there and make that same stupid face and stare at them and see what their reaction looks like, because it's kind of fun for me and it gets them thinking. I insist on running real numbers, getting real payments, and having real cash close figures for 99% of our borrowers. They can't make the best decision for their family without this information. Almost all of our buyers have very specific goals and limits. Two houses at the same price are not going to have the same payment. And I can't be a great partner if I'm not in the trenches with you and our borrower helping make this really important decision. I've got to be able to tell them, hey, this is what this looks like at this offer. Hey, Shayna said we need to go in at 305. I know that you're saying you want to offer 295, but let me ask you this. Do you love this house? Yes. Okay. If I told you the payment was 2710 a month, would you be happy with that? Do you want to be in this house? You told me your goal was to be under 2800. So does 2710 work? Oh, absolutely. Great. Well, with my pricing and the rate drop that we had today, that's 305K. 2 weeks ago, that's 295. That's how insignificant the purchase price of that home is as it relates to total, affordability. You don't live in what you paid the house for. You live in your mortgage payment. And if you're telling me you got a hard cap at 2,800 and I can get you at 2,710, and Shayna says there's already an offer on this property and it's priced on the market, I trust her. So if you love it for 2,710, that would be my recommendation as well, is let's go into 305. I will give them a script that shows how I would communicate to a borrower why it's important for me to run numbers. More importantly, how I can add value to them as a realtor by being a trusted partner. Another point I make, I need to establish value and rapport. I need to be your support. Every time I run numbers for a client, we get closer. I have a better understanding of their experience. I gain trust. We may need that trust. And that's usually when I'll go over and give that example. But it's my job to be there as part of their team. I'm not a vendor. Like, I need to be there with them, having these conversations and being close with the client. If you need me to be a stay in my lane lender and you're going to send me a buyer and I send you an approval letter and then you send me back a contract, hey, I appreciate the interest, but that doesn't work for me. It's not good enough right now in this market. We need to get referrals from every person we talk to, and having a team built around you as the leader of the team, and I'm your support. I've got to be having lots of conversations with these people, understanding them better and helping to make this as a team decision. So those are mine. Figure out where yours are and what makes you special, what makes you important. There's a reason that I did my value propositions first, because they're the most important to me. They're going to convey with more authenticity, and that lets that person know how to talk to clients about me, how to talk to other agents about me. What does Nash think is his best qualities? That's important. And that's what's usually missed in these presentations. Third part here, my third value prop, this is where I'm going to meet their need. Hey, I know you said the most important thing to you was communication. And there's a reason that I didn't touch on that. It's not why it's one of my 2 value propositions. Then I'm going to go over the communication script, why that is not a value proposition. It's a minimum requirement. But understand this, I will thoroughly communicate. That's why I'm not giving the approval letters, is because I want to be talking with you, because there's not just going to be a, hey, we're approved at 300K. No, we may be 290 in this neighborhood. We may be 325 if we go out in the country. We may be 340 if we go outside of the city limits a little bit and find this manufactured home with much lower taxes. I can't be a great partner if I just give you a small box to fit into. It has to be a conversation and an ongoing organic relationship. That's how I communicate. As far as during a process, it's show, don't tell. We're going to overdo it probably a little bit on communicating. You and I are going to be friends. I care about you. I can't wait to see you take your family to Disney, and I want to be a part of that. So I'm going to see what we're doing. We're going to be figuring out the best way we communicate together. Just understand, communication is the expectation. It's the minimum requirement. It's not value. I know you're not getting it right now, and that makes me excited, but I really wanted you to understand what I think my highest value is, because that way it's just going to tell you a lot more about what I'm going to be bringing to the table as a partner. And just understand communication, availability, answering the phone, working on weekends. That I'm a professional. I'm going to do that. We wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't hear great things about me if I didn't at least do that. Tyler, thoughts?
We're running out of time. I think we're going to go like 10 minutes over for everybody who wants to stay. If you have to jump, you can catch this 10 minutes on the recording later. So value proposition, this is your presentation. You're finally presenting. Nash has some great examples in the Word document that I'll drop here in the chat in a minute. Now, Nash, let's move on. We presented, we met their needs. Let's talk about the close.
Yep. I'll go through this pretty quick because you want to go back and read through it on the doc. This is a 1, 2, 3 close and a 1, 2, 3 method. It's easy to remember. The 1, 2, 3, number 1 is reconfirm. Get the easy yes. Hey, I feel like everything we discussed and what's important to you, seems like we align. I really love that you blah, blah, blah. I love that you're carrot, boom. That matches up with me. Would you agree? Wouldn't you agree? Get the yes. The verbal yes is very, very important. Don't tell them, hey, we get along great, man. We'd be a good fit. Ask the question, get the yes. Secondly, your close. Part 2 is the commitment. You have to be specific. Nothing is more important that we're talking about today other than be specific with your close. If it's not specific, you didn't close. Will you commit to sending me your next buyer to pre-approve? It has to be a specific ask. Now, would you like to work with me? Yes, I would. Thank you. Awesome. Hey, I'll talk to you in 2 months when I haven't seen any business from you. It's not closing. Be specific. Would you commit to send me your next pre-approval? Would you commit to send me your next deal? Would you commit to send me your next buyer to pre-approve? Whatever. Would you commit? Will you commit? Could you commit? Commit. That's the word. Opportunity is the word when prospecting. Commit is the word when closing. Get the commitment. If they commit, now you have permission to hold them accountable. Period. The end. The bucket script is part 3. This is tricky and probably the last thing to integrate, but if I found a connection with them, if I know what's important, hey, I've got these buyers, VA, blah, blah, blah. Cool. We've talked about that. I met their need. Awesome. And I can't wait to work with you. Hey, knowing what's most important to me and what you're struggling with, do you have any existing buyers right now that are dealing with some mediocre, bank lenders that you'd like me to reach out to? There's a reason that this is called the bucket script. Find a buyer that fits into a bucket. You can't get a commitment from someone to send you their next deal and then ask, oh, by the way, do you have any pre-approvals I can work on right now? That's inauthentic sales. That's me selfishness. So be specific, meet their need. If there's no clear need, you may skip this. It's better to skip this than to ask in a way that makes you seem like a poor partner or that you're a selfish person. Hey, knowing what's most important to me and what you're dealing with right now, do you have any current clients that need an extra look to make sure their approval letters are spot on? Could use some work on their credit to get a plan to buy, or struggling with affordability and not getting great guidance? Whatever it is, meet a need, get the need.
And this is going to tie back to your value prop probably. So like Nash's bucket script, since one of his value props is affordability, can be very pointed towards, do you have any clients who are pre-approved that maybe they weren't pre-approved at up to the sales price they wanted to, maybe where they're approved right now, the rates are higher or they didn't look very closely. So I can try to get them approved for a higher amount. And so he's tying back that specific ask to his value prop or his niche, and that's going to serve him very well. As he said, it's going to be a lot more genuine and authentic and not as salesy.
Yep. This is it. This is done. You do not go through how to work with your team here. This is not time to establish. Once you've done and closed, you've asked for a referral, you're done. This should not be a 90-minute presentation. This is not where you then go on, okay, well, let's talk about onboarding and get into the system. No, that is critical. And a lot of people forget this, but this is where you need to transition into our next step. You let them know what the next, again, because you are formulaic, you have a process in place and you work this process. You need to let them know once you've closed, hey, awesome. Our next step, it's a little systematic. I got to get you into our, Arrive, our origination system. It's going to be great. Every time a client, applies, you're going to be able to click your name. It's going to be able to give you pre-approval letters. You're going to be able to see I don't want to tell you about it because it's really, really exciting. It's more information than we have to go through right now. I'd like to do that about a week from now. What's your schedule look like? I will get the appointment right then, and I will get that time because I have permission to ask for that time. But be specific on why our next step. Now, your process is going to look different. Maybe you establish them for, to get them in. I like to use onboarding into Arrive because it feels like a necessary step. If I just say, I'd really like to talk to you about the best ways to work with my team, they may think, no, whatever. I'm sending you business. It'll be fine. That is what I want to talk about. But I'm going to give them something where it sounds like a requirement. Hey, this is what my next step looks like. Our next step looks like this. Not, if you have time, I'd love to get together and talk about the best ways to refer people to me. No, you make sure to get that commitment after you close them so they know that this is where the arrow goes. We're aligned. This is what happens next. Now, on our next step meeting, this is going to be very tailored to you and what this looks like. I like to put it a week out because I want to catch up on the last week. And because they already gave me a commitment, send me the next buyer, send me the next pre-approval. If they haven't had one in a week, cool, but I can ask because I have permission to ask. I'm going to onboard them. I'm going to go through the process, get all their information. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, make it feel official, get them into my Arrive. Cool. Then I'm going to go, hey, let me talk about the best ways to work with me. That's going to be different for you than it's going to be for me. Here's what I will accept. Here's best practices. And it's a conversation. How do you like to refer business to a lender? What's the, what do you feel like is the most efficient way to get your buyer over? Do you ever send buyers straight to the website to apply? Here's the type of buyers that you should send straight to my website to apply. Understanding where their buyers come from. This is just where you have this kind of conversation. One of my favorite parts is number 5. So I will spend a minute on this. I've done that. I've set them up. I'm going to ask them, hey, Tyler. So let's say I'm a buyer. I'm really well approved and my stuff looks great. You've worked with me before. I'm the dude. It's cool. And I'm coming to you and I've got a Bank of America pre-approval letter. And, I want to use Bank of America. You ask me, are you willing to talk to my lender? No, I'm going to use Bank of America. What do you say? I'll kind of force script them. Like, I've got permission. I care about their goals. I understand them. And I have never seen so many terrible salespeople in my life than when I have forced realtors to show me their script on how to transition their borrowers to me. Yeah. It is bad. And I will usually crack the same joke every time when they're like, oh, well, you should call Nash because he has really good rates and communicates so well. And I think it'd be worth your time to call him. Well, Tyler, I'm impressed. Honestly, that was one of the worst transitional scripts I've ever heard. That was so bad. And the fact that you're so successful being so bad at that is incredibly inspiring. Like, I'm excited because, man, can we level that up? Oh, dude, it's going to be amazing. I see now why you've got 30 deals with 28 different lenders is because you don't know how to introduce them to your lender. So cool. Let's run through some stuff. Now, I'm probably not going to do that for someone I don't have established rapport with, but the point is still there. Realtors are bad at introducing us. This is our opportunity to script them on how to introduce us, what to say to borrower, how to overcome objections like pulling credit, going over the soft credit inquiry stuff. This is huge. If you show your borrowers or your realtors you're willing to invest in them, their training, their coaching, their scripting to help them, if they believe that they need to be the boss of the transaction and have their team in place, then they're going to be 100% open to this and they're going to be willing to script with you. Thoughts, Tyler?
I believe Nicole has a great realtor onboarding presentation that she presented on another daily sales huddle. So when you get to this next step meeting and it's about the onboarding and it's about how to work with you, I would also recommend taking a look at Nicole's recommendations there. And again, you've got to build this to be you. You've got to customize it to you, take everybody else's ideas, but make sure you have a plan, make sure you have a process that's repeatable. At the end of the day, they need to follow your process. If they want to send you business, you've got to hold hard on the fact that, like, I got to onboard you. I've got to talk to you about these things. It's very important. So as Nash mentioned, that arrive next step is like the easiest, best way to do it because it does allow them to get on that next meeting with you to go through that onboarding.
Mm-hmm. Love it. And it feels, when you have a process in place and you're treating them like a professional, you treat your business like a professional, they're going to treat you like a professional. You're not a vendor, you're a professional partner. So by having that established, that's exactly what you do. Now, number 6 here, I've got ask for referrals. This is not loan referrals. You've already asked them. They've already made a commitment to give you loan referrals. This is where you tell them, hey, Mitch, you're special, man. I really am excited about what we're doing together. And I love the conversations that we've had. And man, I'm so excited about that scripting we just did. I've got room for maybe 2, but probably 1 more priority partners that could be in this, upper echelon like you. Like, these are my people. Do you have any friends or like close colleagues, any other realtors that you're tight with that you would want to have the same kind of experience that you're going to have with me? This is where I ask for other realtor referrals. And I make sure I'm very specific that I've got room for 1 to 2. I don't want to seem, unappreciative that they're choosing to work with me and want to work with me. I also don't want to seem like I'm trying to load up on 10 more people. I just made all these commitments to them on how I'm going to help them, how I'm going to grow them, what my process looks like. And I tell them, yeah, give me all the, no, I'll be very specific. And is there one person that's just like you? I'm sure that you know other people like you that have the same heart for boom, that have the same X. Something about them, build them up when asking for that. And man, that is basically that's a sweet sauce right there. I'm getting some of the best conversations ever and repeating this process over and over because the people that are bought into me, then when I ask them to introduce me to someone else, that same enthusiasm is coming through. And that's a easy spot to miss because you've already felt like you've won so much. But if they care about their friend and you're that good at what you do, you're losing if you're not getting in front of that person too. So see if they have anyone that they know that you can invest into.
Yeah, I get, like, a lot of people probably are already objecting to this in their head as you said this, Nash, because I know I did initially as well, of like, oh, well, like, how would this realtor refer me to another realtor? They haven't even done a deal with me yet. They don't even know if I'm good. And, how are they going to, when they ask the other realtor, ask them if they've done a deal with me or how long they've known me, they're just going to say, well, I haven't done a deal with them yet. How are they going to believe that? And like that mindset, just erase that from your memory and ask for the referral. You'll be surprised. These people, if they're already at this step, they're sold on you. They're doing business with you. They're onboarding with you. They're all about it. They're excited. They're hyped up. They might be more excited now about working with you than they ever will be in the future at this point. So like, this is the time to ask for the referral for the other top agents that they know.
This is exactly why we ask borrowers for referrals at the time of pre-approval, not after they've closed, because that pre-approval is peak excitement. There's some growing pains. There's getting to know each other. There's working through the process. Now, when they're peak excited and ready to roll and just hit the ground running, just, chew through freaking drywall, like, man, they're just going hot. That's when I want them to think about who else can they get me in front of. So that's 1, 2, 3. Any question? And yeah, Brian's right. Limiting beliefs. Like, if they bought into you, then they'll buy someone else into you. Don't stop. And then you just repeat the cycle over and over. What questions does anyone have?
Yes, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat or raise your hand real quick. I know we're over time, so if you've got to bounce, go ahead and jump, but we will hang out and answer questions if you have them. I did drop the Word document in there with this entire process and all the scripting, so hopefully you all found this very helpful and can take that back and really dial in your 1, 2, 3 sales approach as well.
Yes,
Brian
Brian.
Cardenas, yes, sir.
So this stuff's awesome, guys. I really appreciate you guys doing this. I do have a question for you, though, on like the onboarding process, the next steps, because I went through like this stuff and then I got to a next steps with a really good producing agent and trying to set that time up to get them on board and get them into Arrive and get them into a couple other things that I do. And then I got a pushback from her, like, this just seems like too much, like it's going to be too difficult. Like, have you run into something like that where, because what I found with some of these top agents is they've got their systems, they've got their processes of how they do things. And if I disrupt that too much, that I might be an impediment, to working with. Like, I don't know if you guys are running into that. I didn't really have a good way around it. And I haven't been able to reconnect with her very well.
So I don't tell them, or I'm very clear that, setting them up in Arrive and in the portal, it gives them this access and it gives them these things, but they don't have to do it. It's not like any requirement. I'm not forcing them to go log in every day to check their pipeline, or they don't have to like go in there and log a lead to assign it to me. I'm being very clear about the only steps they need to do is refer me a client. And we talked about that, and, I'll do a group text message. That's all I need them to do. The onboarding is more for me to have them set up in the system the way they want to be set up. So, Arrive is nice because it's like, I need your headshot, I need your brokerage information, your email, all this stuff. I just want to show you what it looks like so you know what your borrowers are experiencing, or their buyers. So if you can tie that back to, I just want to show you so you know what your buyers are experiencing, but you don't need to like use this system. I know you have your own CRM. I know you have your own stuff. I'm not trying to give you homework here, but we're going to talk through what this looks like for your awareness.
Yeah, similar to Tyler, everything is set up by the thing before it. At the end of the close, I let them know, hey, our next step is I got to get you onboarded into our system. It's going to take at most 10 minutes. There's a couple other things I want to chat about too. The purpose for this is when your borrowers go to apply, they just start typing your name and boom, all your information is there. So when they've applied, the approval letter goes straight to you, all your information. I can go in and search by you and let you know what's going on with every single one of your clients at any point in time. It's for me. It's not for you to do anything, but I got to get that in there. I've also had people, fight me on that a little bit. I'm like, hey, in addition to that, I've got to go over who is my team? How do we work? What time frames am I available? How does my process look? What's the best way to introduce clients to me? I just told you how structured I am with my process and how important it is, for me to be accurate. I can't do that if we're not doing it the right way. I can't do that if you want to randomly give my number to people and I don't know who they are and they call up out of the blue. That's not effective. Like, I have to only work with effective teams because that's how we're going to grow and thrive in this market and every market, frankly. So I got to make sure that we're on the same page with how to work together. Just getting you bought in on why I'm a great fit, that's awesome. But if we're not aligned on how we're going to work together well, it's not going to be a good enough experience for our borrowers. And that's a non-negotiable for me.
And Brian, if you're getting that kind of feedback, it's either one, that agent is one who just like, they can't handle a process or anything that like, now that's maybe not a good fit for your business anyways. Or two, maybe something in your onboarding or your process or system, maybe you have too many systems, or maybe it is too complex. So maybe look at refining or streamlining what that looks like to make it easier, reduce the friction a little bit. So yeah, I would, based on multiple conversations, see what tends to be true.
Yeah, I think in retrospect, I have other things that I offer to agents, and that was probably not something
spread them out. Spread them out. Like, do one thing in onboarding, talk about our next step, and then do the next one 2 weeks later, do the next one 3 weeks, like home IQ and list reports, like all these extra things. That's way down the road.
Yeah. Keep it simple. Our next step is not optional. If I'm offering you things, that sounds like a choice. Hey, are you interested in this? I could do that. But boom, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this. My next step looks like this. I need about 10 minutes. Boom. If they've spent that much time with you already and they're not willing to jump on a call a week from now for 10 minutes, then they were never really sold in the first place. But like Tyler said, more likely it's a combination of their anticipation and their expectation of what that's going to go like. There's too many things layered into there. So I just keep it simple. I'm going to get you onboarded. Here's the reason for that, and done. And it's a much easier ask. I'm like, no, I'm going to take 10 minutes to get you in our system so your borrowers have a much better experience. That's easy.
Yeah. Good question, Brian.
Thanks.
Very good. Any other questions, feedback?
Brandon, yes, sir.
What's up, guys? I love this huddle. That was awesome info. Hey, question for the post meeting. So what are some things like, Tyler, I heard you just drop a couple little value nuggets for the agents, home IQ, list reports. What is your cadence for following up with them after you meet with them, but before they send you a referral?
I'm connecting with them on social media. I'm creating a recurring task on my task manager for either 3, 5, or 8 days. So that way I'm getting a reminder every 3 or 5 or 8 days to talk to this person, whether it's opening their social media, seeing if they have anything I can comment or interact on, or maybe I'm just sending them a text message or sharing some other information based on our last conversation. So I'm definitely trying to be in front of them weekly until they start sending me referrals, and then it becomes more natural and organic after a certain period of time.
Okay, cool.
To me, social media is the best way to kind of like keep a couple recurring touches. They start to see me and get familiar with me, and that's because I'm very prominent on social media and already do a lot of it. If you're not doing a lot of social media, maybe that's not a good strategy for you. But I do still have to take time for that one-on-one communication sooner or later. Hopefully it comes from them referring me a deal, but if they're not referring me a deal, I've got to do some outreach again.
Anything else? Appreciate you guys hanging in here for an hour and 15 minutes. It's a long sales huddle.
It was as easy as 1, 2, 3, man. Wow, that was so easy. All right, that's all I got. I think our host probably left. Where's
I mean, we're just having a party now. We're just hanging out. Like,
yeah, at this point, this is the after party.
Yeah, this is the
you don't have to go home, but
sales
you can't
huddle
stay here.
happy hour.
Yeah.
And also, like, guys, if y'all have stuff after the fact you want to bounce an idea off of, you read through some scripting, you're having trouble with it, or hey, this is my value prop, I want to go over it with you. How does this sound? Tyler is a lot busier than I am, but you can reach out to me on Workplace. I do like to try to make time available. I love cracking out 10, 15 minutes to do quick strategy sessions. How to approach this. This is a whale agent and I'm a new LO. How do I make my value prop sync up with them? Like that kind of specific stuff. Yeah, man. I love doing that. I love leaning into that. So if there's some value that we can add in between this and the next time we talk to y'all, please do.
Yeah. Awesome.
Guys,
Thanks, Nash. Thanks for everyone hanging in there.